let's move into the entire topic for today. Today, we're going to discuss the impact of social commerce and influencers on upgrading the ROI for D2C brands. Social commerce is rapidly growing and becoming a lucrative new revenue channel for D2C brands. The ability to leverage social media and its innovative commerce features have helped brands find new ways to drive sales and influence purchase decisions. And with that, we have three amazing people with us. The first of all being Deepak Agarwal. Deepak is an IIT Delhi alumni with over 8 years of experience with Unilever. Over the last 3 years, he has been working on building Ayurveda for daily lifestyle with Auric. Thank you, Deepak, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Secondly, we have Shrishti Mishra. Shrishti is a passionate and result-oriented digital marketer with 9 years of industry experience. She's currently working with Wakefit as a senior digital marketing manager. She has handled digital strategy for over 50 domestic and international brands in her marketing career. She is also the winner of the Marketing Innovator of the Year award at Women Icon Award 2020. Thank you, Shrishti, for being here with us.
Thanks for the intro, Aditya.
And lastly, but not least, of course, we have Arindam. Arindam Das is a digital and growth marketer with 10 years of cross-industry experience across multiple roles. Arindam currently heads digital at Emami Limited with the mandate of digital acceleration on the marketing ecosystem. He has previously worked with many companies such as Airtel, ITC, GroupM, and Madison in different capacities. Arindam is an avid reader and tech enthusiast. Something, Arindam, you and I have much in common.
Thank you, Aditya.
So let's not waste time. Let's just jump into it. What I'm going to do, and please, for the audience, please keep asking comments in the question below. You can easily put in the chat box and I'll come back to it by the end of the session. Coming to the first question, and this question will go in order. Social commerce is picking up momentum lately. With shoppable content, what are the highlights, hits, and misses in the last couple of years? Let's start with Arindam. What would you like to say about this?
Social commerce in India is still in its infancy, to be honest. So it is too early to count misses of social commerce in India. China, I think, is the only market which has kind of mastered social commerce in the recent period. Our social, even in 2020, if we see that our social commerce share is somewhere around 1 to 2% of the total pie of the online sales that we do today. So in terms of hits, I will rather focus on that. This has become a great enabler, especially in a period like COVID. And I think this is the period everything has changed in terms of social and the digital commerce perspective. While the overall organized social commerce in India is just picking up with companies like Meesho and Glow Road taking up the mantle to pushing that. But in terms of overall perspective, if you see, unorganized social commerce has actually really taken hold during COVID. I think I was just reading a report while checking the potential of social commerce. Almost 40% of the orders in MSME sector during the COVID period has actually come through WhatsApp, which is nothing but social commerce. So this is something I found very, very interesting. And so one big hit is it has enabled online purchase for people who are not the digital natives. I think that is the biggest enabler that you can have in a country like India, where only 50 to 100 million people who are what we call a digital native know how to use internet, how to use payment ecosystem in a full functional manner, comfortable with English, mostly in metros and or tier 1 cities. So enabling them is a big thing. And I think second thing that has been a big thing for social commerce is making an entrepreneur out of the women folk. I think a lot of the users or the early adopters of social commerce who have become resellers in India, social commerce is primarily reselling as of now. 70 to 80% for most of the platforms have users who are women. So these are the two big hits, I think, enabling digital commerce in hinterlands among the new digital users or the new digital adopters, and enabling entrepreneurship for everybody, especially among the women. I think is the two big enablers for social commerce. Misses, I will see, while India has taken long strides towards e-commerce, social commerce from a structural front has not developed so much, but I think that is changing with a lot of companies coming up, especially after success of Miso in recent period.
That is actually extremely fascinating, and that's a lot of data points that I definitely need to note. And I cannot agree more because of the entire way how it is in China versus how it is in India. Thank you so much, Arindam. Deepak, over to you. What would you have your thoughts on this?
So, see, in the first place, I believe that India is a trust deficient economy. We tend to believe in when the references and the referrals are coming from people around us. And that is why social e-commerce becomes super relevant and important for an economy like India. Now, the social e-commerce can be, as Arindam mentioned, a reference coming from your friends and family, which is what companies like Meesho and Glowroad are driving in. It can also be the references which are coming from celebrities, which is what TV has been doing it in the last so many decades. It can also be coming from the influencers which are present in the digital world of YouTube and Instagrams, for example. As long as people realize that there are other people that we respect, we follow, we love, are also consuming certain products, it becomes relevant for the follower also. And that's where the social commerce becomes super important for us. I absolutely agree with Arindam that in terms of level of maturity, India is behind China. But at the same time, for me, the biggest miss has been primarily the fact that uh, the transition from a branding led social commerce to a performance and branding led social commerce is yet to happen. At this moment, the view is always that a social commerce, specifically from a celebrity perspective, be it on YouTube or be it on Instagram, is primarily a branding led investment. The moment it is going to convert into a performance led investment, I think it is just going to blow apart. And the trust is going to come in terms of the people who are investing into the architecture and the creators, that yes, this can bring in ROIs also. I think that is the gap that is many companies are trying to address it in their own ways. And the moment that is going to become a foolproof, solid engagement, I think we are going to cross the barrier and reach the scale of China very soon.
I think that's extremely fascinating because as we also do a lot of influencer marketing, we've seen that entire shift from branding and awareness versus going towards performance. And that big key layer of performance, which people are trying to focus on to, will eventually, I believe, grow massively. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Deepak, for that, for your perspective. Shrishti, you come from a different segment of D2C.
Yeah.
Love your opinion. Would love to hear what you have to say about the hits and misses in social commerce today.
Sure. So I will agree with Arindam and Deepak both, so I won't be repeating the same thing. But somewhere I feel that social commerce or the shoppable content on social media is somewhere overshadowing e-commerce, especially in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. As Arindam has mentioned that WhatsApp is the one of the major platform in last 1 year. So in last 1 year, we have seen a huge change in user online buying behavior. Earlier, people used to buy cosmetics, groceries, apparels online. But when it comes to a high ticket size item or a bigger volume product, they prefer to go on to an online store. But due to the pandemic, the things has changed completely. Even we have seen the jump in high value products also at a larger space. I can give you a very relevant example. Last year, due to the COVID, when all the industry were at risk except FMCG, we at Wakeford have taken a bigger risk of launching our entire furniture segment. And in 1 year, within a year, we have seen that furniture segment is contributing 20% of our business revenue. So people are preferring buying the bigger things also online, like furniture. And social commerce has emerged as a model of success for non-English speaking audience, which I think was missed in last few years of everyone's marketing strategy, because all the e-commerce platform, they were preferring only in the language of which mass audience are using, but somewhere the local language has been ignored. But with the integration of social commerce, somewhere with the help of influencers, people are able to relate what they exactly they're looking for. They can find it easily.
No, thank you. I think that's pretty fascinating because influencers, be it via WhatsApp or be it via social media, has made a massive impact. And like you rightly mentioned, I think Arindam also picked this up earlier about tier 2 and tier 3 segments and WhatsApp playing an integral role in this entire ecosystem. So then let's go to the next question, which actually is a realm from what we just spoke about. With platforms like Instagram very recently, if not in India, but at least abroad, have launched affiliate for creators. Basically a simple system where they can make a cut of the purchase. As simple as affiliate gets. But considering Instagram is launching it, being one of the largest players in the influencer marketing space right next to, say, YouTube, what do you anticipate? How do you see changes in the branding versus performance mix, which Deepak you mentioned earlier? So let's start with Deepak itself.
Okay. See, I'm waiting for this launch to happen in India, and I'm waiting to see how the creators are going to respond to it. But whatever my little experience goes in working with the creators in the past, uh, the filters that they use makes it super important for them to have a fixed fee model rather than a variable fee model. If this is going to turn the tides, then as a brand owner, it is going to be a fantastic move for me, because I know that my fortunes are linked with the fortunes of the creator. When we are looking the creators from a distance, we can use a lot of data to understand the probable engagement and hence the probable ROI. But at the end of the day, your numbers actually come to test when the creators actually launch the video. So from that perspective, I am not very hopeful that this move is going to change the dynamics and the economics, because I still believe that creators will like to still go with the fixed fee model rather than with the affiliate model. On the other hand, the micro influencer community, which today is thriving on the samples, they might have a very interesting role to play, because for them it will be a source of income which earlier was not happening. Any which ways the products and the samples were going, and couple it with the affiliate margins, it can actually create a lot of trust at the bottom, which is going to translate into trust slowly and slowly in the middle and the top funnel. Which is where I think affiliate is going to play a super important role in the bucket of less than 100,000 followers.
Absolutely. So I think even with Amazon launching Amazon affiliate, I think this entire segment will play an entire major role. Amazon affiliate is already available in India, but Instagram will also be introducing it. But definitely it'll depend on how open the influencers are as an overall community. Arindam, what would you like to say about this entire thing, especially with actually more data saying that it's already launched in testing phase, Instagram creator segment, affiliate system is already launched in America, and they are planning to roll out the entire thing to Indian market very soon.
So I think this will change the overall ecosystem somewhat. While I agree that we still don't know how the influencer community or the creator community will gonna accept it, at least in India, because we have to admit the fact that overall purchase value in India tends to be much lower than a market like US or a UK. So the similar model might not be very successful in India. However, I still feel there is a lot of potential. There are a couple of things I will just want to touch upon on this. So this will enable, in case of while till now, most of the affiliate marketing was linked to app ecosystem in India mostly. So it is bringing that ROI focused model to creator economy, with Instagram being the front runner in this. So that would create a completely different measurement model when it comes to influencer marketing. It will give a performance leg, like already mentioned here. So that would be something very interesting for a lot of marketeers. For me, I am really excited to test this out. How this kind of a direct ROI measurement model works for our brands. If this works, this has a potential to change the creator economy so there are two things that can happen. For the large influencers, I agree, they might want to stick with their existing model where there is a more steady stream of revenues and they get those revenues much easier also. But for us macro and micro level influencer, where the engagement rate tends to be much higher. The engagement rate, as we all know, that falls significantly as the size of your audiences go up. That is where I think this kind of a affiliate model can play a very different role. In a way, if you think this is a kind of a rendition of social commerce at scale that you can see, especially when you are talking about key opinion leader in very specific spaces. So that would be something very interesting. So it is a kind of a social commerce and influencers merging together somewhat. Amazon affiliates, when Amazon originally launched the affiliates model, it has kind of had a very, very good impact on the overall Amazon traffic and their sales. So I am sure that a similar kind of an effect will be there when this gets launched in India. However, this comes with some bit of risk also. I don't know what kind of restrictions that Instagram is going to play. When you do things at this scale, there is always a little bit of risk of unauthorized selling, unauthorized promotion, and those kind of things. I am sure that the platform will come up with some safeguards. But otherwise, I'm really, really excited that how this could bring a performance angle to a generally a brand.
Definitely, because it's going to really change the market up. As in, of course, like both of you mentioned, it depends how the influencer reacts to this entire model, but I'm sure it's going to play a key role in the entire segment of overall influencer marketing gambit. Shristi, if I could have your views on the same.
So actually, what I believe is launching affiliates for creators is not only going to help the small creators to make a living, as Deepak has said, for the micro influencers, but also it's going to help the brands to showcase their products and service in a more consumer friendly manner. And it will also generate the sales also for the same at the same time. But while I was researching more about this Instagram affiliate program, the process which I get to know is that influencers can just the creators can just sign up for the new affiliate program, and in which they will then enable them to choose the products and available on the app to add to their post. And if users tap through on those posts and go on to make a purchase on those particular website, the creator will get a commission. So from influencer perspective, it's going to be a really like good deal for them, because without doing any negotiation or legwork, they can put their incentive in place. But from brand perspective, I believe there is a risk, because the brands won't be having any control on who is going to put their who is going to say what about their product. So I think if once it is launched, it's full phased, and if the, Instagram will put some restrictions that okay, brands can allow which creators can promote their brand, then it is fine. Otherwise, it's going to be a big risk as well.
No, actually, because you might somebody might promote your brand who might not have the same tonality or brand language as the brand itself. So that could put a question mark. I think a lot will happen as we go forward and we actually this place enters India. And I'm sure when brands are open to this ecosystem, we'll have a lot more answers in this space. But it's always awesome to hear your opinion on these things, because this is the future, right? Which comes into my next question. And Shristi, let's start with you itself. What trends are you anticipating in MarTech overall, marketing technology, or tech overall towards social shopping?
Okay, so marketing technology nowadays is a key part of any business marketing. So to provide a constantly better experience for shoppers. So integration of technologies like AR with social commerce allows shopper to visualize certain items on themselves and socially feedback through social media tools and take a buying decision. Marketing tools and platforms also help the brands with better personalization, detailed analytics, and accurate reporting of their social commerce. As an outcome from this, brands will be able to understand what forms of social commerce is working for them and its effectiveness. Consumers love to consume the content when it is personalized to them. So not directly to social commerce, but we have tried this personalized content and the AR with our business, and it has really worked. So for social shopping also, AR is really working well.
So AR plays a big role itself in this entire MarTech space. Deepak, what would you have to say about this?
So keeping the marketing technology domain limited to the social commerce, I think what I'm really looking forward to is how the influencers are going to be partnering together with brands to create different sorts of marketing experiences to the end consumer. Now, if I just take an example, one way was you use the celebrity or the influencer or the creator and his or her platform as a distribution engine. The second one is what is now already happening for the last 1 year, that you take the creator, take the usage rights and promote it on your distribution platform. The third thing, which is going to be an important driver, is can the creator make the content and promote it, boost it on the Facebook and Instagram through his or her own distribution engine. I think this is something that is very much prevalent in Twitter. which is slowly and slowly going to find its relevance in India on Facebook and Instagram also. The moment these three things happen, then we will be able to unbundle the entire creator economy in different ways. Do we want their content? Do we want their distribution? Do we want their content and distribution? And do we want them to put our media money behind their content and distribution? In my personal opinion, apart from what Srishti just mentioned around bringing the AR to the entire shopping experience, if we can unbundle this entire creator economy, it is going to unleash a lot more trust in the minds of the consumer, and it is going to help brands target the way they would want to approach the followers.
No, definitely. Arindam, I would love your views as well on this.
I think one, two, three big things that I think going forward is be very, very important when it comes to especially MarTech in relation to social commerce. Across all platform, product discovery and shopping flows is gonna be enabled. And we are seeing that with Instagram launching affiliates platform, TikTok also launching some kind of a shopping platform, shoppable video, shoppable platforms in US. Other platforms will gonna follow suit, and that is, I think, is the most exciting area that is going to come in terms of MarTech. So, but it will not. There will be a further blurring between a brand or a promotion activity versus a activity which is primarily driving your sales. So that would be a major change. Apart from that, I can see from my end some of the new trends that globally has caught up, but it's still not in India yet. Those things coming. So, for example, live shopping is something that is catching up in the markets where social commerce has taken hold. Again, I will go back to China because I think this in this area we are much closer to China versus we are to in US in terms of our demography, the way our overall ecosystem works. So live shopping is something that is taking China by storm. So after social commerce, so that is something most likely to come. AR, Srishti already spoke about, and I'm sure this is gonna be a big thing. Enablement of because most of this is happening in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Vernacular and voice will play a very important role. So you can expect in going forward more and more platforms offering vernacular voice based solutions as a supporting tools in terms of how you can interact with the customers. Some kind of an automated chatbot in vernacular is something I see coming very soon. So these would be the primary changes. And also specifically in the social commerce space, like I said, in India, the overall social commerce is primarily on the reseller model. Rest of the social commerce models is yet to basically take hold. So those are the things most likely as the overall ecosystem goes and matures and strengthens, those kind of things will most likely come. So group buying and those kind of solution that has become popular in a lot of markets most likely take hold in India as well.
No, definitely. If I may just pick on something you said about live commerce in China, and while they had entered India and a lot of apps, as you're aware, got banned.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what's very interesting, a lot of counterparts, even in the live commerce space, have popped up in India and are growing. Not just short form platforms, but even live commerce platforms have significantly grown. And let's see how time will tell, of course, how that comes up in the entire Indian ecosystem market. Coming to our last question, so please take your time in answering any of these questions. This last question: how will scaling in India 2.1 look like? What would be the strategies and challenges be? Any hunches and experiments you plan to try, if you're happy to share, or anything that you think will happen looking at India 2.0, and the growth towards the Indian penetration market, internet penetration. I'm so sorry. Let's go with Arindam first.
So the overall internet ecosystem in India is at the cusp of a change. So the first set of users who have came into India is people like you and me. People who are comfortable in English, they don't any problem with any kind of a technology. At least they know how to adapt to that technology. So that is a certain kind of user base we have. So if I take a very analogy, and a lot of people are from 90s, so most likely will relate to that. See, when television came to India in 90s and in early 2000, a lot of television shows used to be very, very progressive. Because the television at that point of time, especially the cable television stars and Z's of the world, used to be catered to people like you and me. Over time, the television and a lot of lament you will see in social that why Indian television has shows like Nagin, which is the top rated shows nowadays. So the reason is that the overall consumption pattern of television changed. It has become more massy, it has gone into hinterlands, and by bulk now 70% of the consumption of television happens in hinterland. The internet today is at the same stage in a way in terms of consumption wise where television was in early 2090s kind of thing. So the entire internet ecosystem is gonna change. If you see three things that is driving or will drive Indian internet ecosystem, especially digital for Bharat, if we say so, is basically video, vernacular, and voice. Video is already here thanks to Jio. We have extremely cheap data, one of the lowest in the world, a high-speed connection. Vernacular is something that is already started growing. A lot of vernacular adoption is happening. People are giving solutions in vernacular, and it is gonna grow. Voice is the next frontier. I think that is something that is coming. So that will enable the next set of people. So I was just reading some study because as a part of the job, we need to keep studying that what is the next trend in the internet. So rural internet penetration, though still at a meager some 28 to 30%, it is growing at a 2.5x versus the urban internet penetration. In next 5 years, almost 70% of the new users nowadays is coming from rural market itself. So in next 5 years, it would be a 60-40 ratio towards the rural and the tier 2 cities, not the urban, which is currently the stage. So this would be very, very interesting to see how this overall ecosystem changes will take hold. Things like localized content creators is emerging, and they will gonna be have the space. So for example, if you see TikTok is taken India by the storm. I think one of the reason it has also helped is that people can relate to it much easily. See, as the overall ecosystem grows, the ease of creating content actually goes down. So to create a content for YouTube, you will have to have some kind of video equipment. You need to short, upload, you need a computer most likely to edit the video. When it came to Facebook, it has become comparatively much easier. It becomes more. When it comes to TikTok, everything is enabled within the app itself. You just need a smartphone and download the app. So as technology grows, people who are in the hinterland who does not have so much access to technology, they are going to come in more and more. So the consumption pattern will change. There will be more localized consumption, more social commerce versus e-commerce. So those would be the major change that will be coming in the I think next 5 years. That is something that we are gonna see.
Definitely. And I think it's very fascinating. Like you mentioned, a lot of us have been exposed to the internet, maybe via a computer or a laptop, whereas today's entire generations and generations of people are being introduced to the internet via their mobile first. But that itself is powerful, is very powerful. And again, like you said, we have cheap data, so penetration is becoming deeper and deeper. And of course, Reliance recently spoke about their new phone that's coming out alongside Google, and that might increase the penetration or at least make it faster. Deepak, I would love your views on this.
Sure. So borrowing some of the things that Arindam mentioned, I think going back to your question on penetration, every single brand needs to have their vernacular strategy in place. That for me, because is why it is so important, is because even the internet penetration or the mobile penetration is going to happen in the hinterlands of Bharat. And if that is going to happen, we need to make sure that the discovery and the access, both of them for the brand, happens with the people, with the economy. And that can only happen if you're bridging the language barriers. And therefore, if any brand needs to look at their strategy for the next 12 months or 24 months, I think vernacular needs to figure out as one of the top strategies. And that, in my opinion, is the first important driver of penetration and digital 2.0. The second thing for me is going to be around the conversation commerce. While video commerce is something that has shown its benefits around the world, specifically in China, I think in India, what has been slowly and slowly bubbling up is the conversation commerce. And I would be really interested in knowing how the partnership between WhatsApp and Jio is going to translate into the entire Reliance shopping experience coming on WhatsApp. And that for me is going to be super important driver, because there are a whole lot of communities that are on WhatsApp. There are a whole lot of conversations that are happening on WhatsApp. There is a whole lot of trust that has been built on the WhatsApp in the last few years, and that is waiting to be monetized. And it can only happen when the commerce angles gets infatuated along with the WhatsApp. So that for me is going to be the second most important driver of success. The third and the final one is going to be a combination of the video commerce as well as the group buying. And this is again going back to the television era, where there were, and still there are, channels which are dedicated to tele shopping, right? Those things have been tried in the past in India also through the digital mediums, but it has somehow not been successful for various reasons. And therefore, I personally believe that tuning into a channel only to listen to a creator to buy a product requires a huge leap of faith. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to, because the moment that happens, the entire economy will be creator-led economy. And then the events that Arindam very well described is going to be super helpful, because what TikTok has proven is that there is enough creative talent present in the hinterlands of India, right?
Definitely.
And those people could not be present on YouTube in the past, primarily because they found it difficult to create their communities because of the changing product that YouTube had as compared to the instant gratification that TikTok offered. Now, just imagine that there's a lot of creative talent, which they know that they can monetize it by just being part of the tele shopping agenda of video commerce. If these two things can come together, I think this economy is going to become a perfect creator-led economy. And these are the three things that I'm hoping for as part of the 2.0 agenda.
Well, that's amazing, because the more we go into the creator-led economy, the more social commerce comes in and plays a key role in this entire ecosystem for any type of brand, to be honest.
Correct. Absolutely.
Maybe one day even Mercedes will sell like that. But
hopefully.
Coming to Srishti, what would you have, considering especially your product and diversification of your products are also very different?
Yeah. So I completely agree with Deepak's and Arindam's statement. So recently I was going through a study which says that India is estimating 1 billion internet users by 2025, mostly mobile users. Every 9 out of 10 users from this will be a non-English speaking consumer. Every 2 out of 3 are people who don't use online transactions yet. So the reason for this lack of inspiration and content in their own language that can help them to make an informed choice. So the major change or the strategy which is going to work for the brand well will be vernacular content along with the influencer marketing. So this is completely based on my experience. We have started influencer marketing somewhere around like 2019. And in last 2 years, I worked with more than 250 influencers. And just to bring in the change in our influencer marketing strategy, we have started working towards the vernacular content based on the audience reason. So as a result, we have noticed a big change. So selling a shirt within a vernacular content might be easy, but selling a sofa, selling a mattress online is not that easy. But really vernacular content has worked for us. The second change, what I felt will come in with, people now believe that if we hire a big brand ambassador, a well-known face, then it's going to help for the brand. But based on my experience, what I felt that micro influencers are going to give bigger ROI than these bigger well-known celebrities. So where we have seen with celeb campaigns, we have seen the ROI of I think I can say 2x or 3x. It's hard to believe, but with this micro vernacular influencers, we have seen the ROI of 60x also. And the best part is that the campaign which we did 2 years back, that is still helping our business. So this is the biggest change which is going to happen in the next, like India 2.0.
Srishti, you are sitting on a gold mine if that is the ROI that you're promising. I need to connect with you after this panel discussion.
Definitely, Deepak, we have seen this with the micro influencers.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty awesome because micro influencers going forward, we actually get to see an entire gambit of micro brand ambassadors coming in versus
Yeah,
a single brand ambassador looking at the entire country, which, as we've seen, data prove is not going to work. But of course, different regions, different languages, internet penetration is going to become really interesting. We're a little short on time, so I'm just going to take up two questions that I have in front of me. And first of all, this is coming from an anonymous attendee, so that I can't help that. What are the influencer affiliate risks for brands in the entire influence? And this is my perception of this question. What is the risk that brands look at when working with an affiliate system model? Arindam, would you like to take that on?
The model as on now, how Instagram has defined the model, it is not yet in India, so we don't know the exact safeguards. So you have to, as a brand, you need to register to enable this, and then any influencer can effectively take your brand if is authorized by influencer part of their initial beta or maybe the full-fledged rollout, and they can start promoting your brand and they will get a commission. So out of the sales if they're able to drive. So one of the biggest thing, and I think Deepak has also touched on that, and Srishti has also touched on that. The problem is that you don't have a lot of control how he's going to sell your product. What is the product promises he will be making, which might or might not be in sync with your product promises. So that is, I think, is a big area of concern
as well.
So that is something would be an area of concern for a lot of brand advertisers. For example, we have brands like Zandu, which are in the space of quasi-medicinal space. So product promises is very important for us, and I am sure it is for any other brand who are trying to solve a problem-specific products. Not so much for a traditional beauty brand, so much maybe, at least until and unless it is a complete mis-selling. But for brands which are in the problem-solving space, that would be a very big concern area. What is the promise that people are making to sell their product?
Thank you, Arindam. I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to just throw it out there, and I think Deepak, Srishti, whichever one of you want to answer this one, it's all yours. So in the current ecosystem, not future, but current ecosystem of social commerce taking place in India, which is active on YouTube, how is the entire market working currently? Or is there something currently any of you have done that you have faced in the past? Srishti?
yeah. So I have done a lot of influencer marketing on YouTube, and I think this is really going to be currently also it's working really fine. And this is, people say that we have as any of the marketer, the top to bottom funnel is the biggest approach which they go through. But I believe that whatever influencer marketing we did on YouTube, that has covered the entire top to bottom funnel completely for us. So from reaching out to the new audience, bringing them to the website, and immediately converting them also. This is really working well.
Thank you so much, Srishti. With that, I think we're short on time. Thank you so much, Srishti, for being on board with us. Thank you, Deepak, for giving us your time. Thank you, Arindam, for your time. It was great to have you guys here, and it was amazing to learn from you guys, and maybe we can apply these going forward. I think one thing which we all can agree is we have really exciting times ahead, and it's going to be a lot of learning, a lot of testing, but I think it's just going to, MarTech will keep changing the ecosystem for the better. And of course, brands and agencies and influencers will have to adapt to the entire growing ecosystem. With that, thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Social Samosa, for doing this.